Mr. Chairman. Mr. Klocko. As you're aware, I considered in the past, just a few months ago, a proposal for a charter amendment, not dissimilar to this, but along the same lines, essentially stating that the impasse determination of the council would not only be final, as is now provided for in our code, but that it would also be binding and would be funded by the administration. I drew that same resolution up in 1996 after the other last time I was at impasse, because both outcomes to me were so ineffectual from the council standpoint. We don't really have the tools to conduct impasse hearings effectively and meaningfully. 1 hour presentations by both sides, plus all the backroom lobbying that goes on, is really a fairly poor basis for impasse decisions. Anyway, my determination at that time was not to go forward with that resolution for a charter revision and to defer it to the Charter Review Commission. The reason being is it's a big change. It's a big change in the way the county conducts business. It has a lot of funding components to it, and it seemed of a magnitude that I thought required more study. I got to tell you, when you go through our code today, I think there's no reason why the decision of this council shouldn't have been upheld by the county executive. We have deadlines and dates that are very scrupulously set out in the code, and they were generally ignored by the administration. But I got to tell you, when we got down to the last days of this budget cycle and we made our recommendation of 3%, I was so disappointed that the executive didn't uphold that position, because I've got to believe it's the first time, the only time in this county's history that the executive has not supported the final decision of the county council. And I'll read from the code, and it's very simple. And it says, in impasse, the decision of the county council shall be final. Period. It doesn't say that the executive doesn't fund it, gets to play games with it. It says it's final. And the executive did play games with it. And I tell you, the way it was dealt with privately among council members and then publicly by the administration, I think was a real mockery of what this code says. Now, having said that, I think that this piece of legislation has a great deal of merit to it, a lot of value, but I think it also falls into the same category of, because it affects the financial scenario within our county, the ability to deal with the budgetary matters and how to fund them, that this should be deferred to the Charter Review Commission, which we have to convene, I think, in January, because it has to wrap up their recommendations by May, if I'm not mistaken, of 01. So I'm going to vote against it because of those reasons.